So I was just talking a little bit about you and how you've helped my business grow and the incredible experience that I've had working with you and that we originally met on Clubhouse.
Yes.
And so I would love to hear whatever you want to share about a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump into making bold moves.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. So I'm Esther Littlefield, and I love to work with Christian women building an online business and help them leverage their expertise so that they can create a thriving business and live their ideal life. And I am also married. I have a husband of over 20 years and a daughter who's 14.
Oops, did I lose you? Oh no. Anybody that's here, can you hear Esther, or is she frozen? Oh, there we go. Let's try this again. Huh, weird. Technical difficulties.
Okay.
Hello.
I don't know what happened.
Weird.
It just bumped me out all of a sudden. So sorry about that.
That's okay. Well, I'm glad you're back.
Yes, I'm back. Yeah. So I think I was saying we're in the middle of a big move from Maine to Tennessee. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me and our life right now. So I'm in Tennessee by myself with my dog and two cats as my roommates right now.
I love it. How are the cats getting along?
Oh, they're doing good. They're doing good. One of them is right here on the desk,
Oh,
wandering around.
how sweet. Well, we want
Yes.
to talk about bold moves tonight, and you have recently made a bold move, and I'm sure you've made several others over the course of your life. But
Yeah.
what do you want to share with people tonight, and what can we take away? So
Okay. Yeah.
go for whatever you want to share.
Do you want me to share about my current bold move? Is that what you feel like
Yeah,
might be most relevant?
I
Okay.
think that would be, I think that would be great for
Okay.
whatever you're willing to share, because I
Yeah.
think it's a really powerful story about faith and hope and trust and all
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Yeah, so just for a little bit of context, I have been running my own business from home for over 7 years. That started because of a different bold move when I decided to quit network marketing and start working for myself. So that was the first thing that I did. But most recently, my family had kind of gone through a period of transition, and we were thinking about moving. And so we were looking at moving to the south, and we knew we kind of were looking in a certain area. And an opportunity came up for me to take a full-time job. And it was really something that I never anticipated doing. It was not something I was looking for. But the more I kind of thought about it and I prayed about it and looked at the opportunity and the timing, there was just too many coincidences to ignore it. And so we talked about it and prayed about it and decided as a family that it was the right decision for us. And so we decided to move here to Tennessee and for me to take this full-time job. And I just finished up day 2 of the job. So yeah, it's very fresh, very new, but I think, one thing that I learned in the past year is to really trust my gut. And throughout the process, even though things didn't really make sense to me, I was still having that gut feeling that this was the right path to take. And so that would probably be one of the things that I know you talk about that a lot, about trusting your gut. And that's something that I really had to do in this process, because on paper, it didn't make sense for me to take this, this job, so to speak. So it was definitely like a moment of trusting, but also trusting God, but also trusting my gut in moving forward in this process.
Oh, gosh. Well, it's so powerful about trusting your gut. And it's hard to know. Like, I'm just thinking, what advice do you have for women who have something where they go, I feel like this is the right thing, but the logic doesn't seem like it lines up?
Yeah.
What would you
Yeah.
offer to them?
Oh, I mean, I think that's where I've always struggled, because I am very much like a logical, linear, I need to have all my ducks in a row for things to make sense. That's how I
Yeah.
make decisions. And so it's been a process, and I think it probably has started with a lot of other smaller decisions before this big one. I don't know that you trust your gut like on a big life-changing decision for the first time. It was, I think, throughout the previous months and probably the past year where I've been learning to lean into that more. So I think for me, one of the things that I've tried to do is when something hasn't gone well, I have reflected back on why it didn't go well. And, whether it was a decision I made or an interaction with a client or a situation with a family member, whatever it might be. And a lot of times when I reflected on it, I realized it was that I didn't trust my gut in that situation. I had a sense of something to say or something to do or a different path to take, and I didn't do it because it didn't make sense or it was kind of not what other people wanted or whatever it might be. And so when you start to recognize that not trusting your gut is leading you to negative, interactions, negative experiences, then you start to kind of recognize that pattern and you can start to say, okay, how do I want to do this differently the next time?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good reminder. Most of us don't go back and reflect because we're so busy. We're thinking about, one thing after another for
Right.
sure. What has been the most exciting part of this change and this move?
Oh gosh. I think it's been the idea of just getting to try something new. Like I have been kind of in the same space, working in a similar way, even though I've pivoted my business a few times. I've been in the same kind of mode for 7+ years. And I've loved all of it. I've learned so much. I've loved it. And I still love my business. I still love the women I get to work with. But the idea of kind of just getting to branch out and take what I've learned up to this point and apply it in a different way is exciting to me because I like to shake things up sometimes. I don't like things always being the same in my work and in my life. So I think that's probably the most exciting part is just getting out there and trying my hand at something new and different.
I love it. Well, and it's making me think about how I know you are an adventurer at heart. And so what do you think makes if you think about somebody who's wanting to make a bold move or even wanting to make a move and they're more comfortable with the status quo just because they're this comfortable. What advice would you give to somebody about embracing the adventure or even how do they take that one step forward?
Yeah. Well, I think what you just said is such a good starting point is I'm trying to think of a good analogy. I'm thinking of a roller coaster. Like typically, if you go to a amusement park, and you've never ridden a roller coaster before, you don't get on like the largest roller coaster in the United States and say, this is my first one, right? You probably get on like, hey, let me try this like kiddie roller coaster first and test it out. So I think it's similar with trying, making bold moves or doing things that might feel feel more risky. Because like what you're saying is, I am a little bit more of a risk taker. My husband is not as much of a risk taker. So he's much more happy to be in the status quo. And I'm more like, let's try something different. And so, but I think for someone who is more of a status quo person, like try one small thing that's different in the next week or the next month. Maybe like you've never, I don't know, ridden on a water slide and you go to a water park and you try a water slide, or maybe you've never, like I think something even outside of business, outside of career, trying something different and fun. And it might be a disaster. Like you might realize, oh, I never want to do that again. But then you'd say, okay, but I was bold enough to try it. I was, I took a risk. I tried something new. And I mean, I've had to coach my daughter on that many times. And this is actually a good example. She hates trying new things. Like she is very much like scared of trying new things. So when she was younger, I really wanted her to try theater. And she cried and begged us not to make her do it. She said, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And I had a gut feeling. I knew that she would be good at it. And I knew she would love it based on what I had seen her do before. And so I was like, we just need to try try it. I said, you just need to go and try it and go like a couple times. And if you absolutely hate it, you don't have to go back. And then she went, and what happened? She fell
I
in love
love
with
it.
it. And it's still the thing that she does today. That was like 7 or 8 years ago. So sometimes you'll find that you'll try something new and it'll end up being that thing that just lights you up and gets you really excited. So
That is it's such a good example. I know. Well, I'm thinking about some completely random thing about how I did not want to get a new mattress because I was so worried that it wouldn't be as comfortable as the one I had, but I had
right.
had mine. I think I got it in college at a garage sale. And
Yeah.
then when I got a new mattress, I thought, why didn't I get this before?
Yes.
What was I worried about?
Yeah.
I think so much of us are more comfortable with what we know because
Yeah.
it's at least it's
It's
familiar.
familiar. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I mean, it is scary taking a step out and doing something totally different. I mean, I gotta tell you, it was scary deciding that we're gonna move and we're gonna go to a new place and I'm gonna take a full-time job. Like all of that is scary.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's also it can be, and part of my approach to this year has been like thinking about adventure and just thinking, okay, it's just going to be an adventure and it's going to be, and who knows, it could end up being really, really good. Like it could end up being really good. And we'll just
Yeah.
have to wait and see.
Well, I love
So,
that because it makes me think about Winnie the Pooh, and I think there's a scene where Winnie the Pooh is walking with Piglet, and I think Piglet is like their hair is way blown, or their fur is
yeah.
blowing in the wind, and I think what Piglet says something like, "What if we fall over? What if we die? What if we, catastrophizing everything?"
Yes.
And then Pooh just says, "What if we don't?"
Yeah.
Like the
Right. Right.
possibility of like we're so used to when we say what if, usually what follows is something negative.
Yeah.
When if we think about even just choosing to put the mindset on of what if it's a positive experience
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
maybe even better than we think. I think that's such a good reminder.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also thinking about family members and of somebody just thinking about people that might be listening that want to
Hmm.
make a bold move, but yeah, they've got kids or a spouse or something that's holding them back, but they still feel this itch or this gut that
Mm,
says, I want to do this.
yeah.
How would you recommend navigating that journey with family members?
Yeah, that's definitely a tricky one. I think it's different for each person and each family situation. But I know for me, I needed this decision to be something that my whole family was on board with, or else I wasn't gonna feel good about it, So I think it kind of depends on the situation, like deciding to move several thousands of miles away from home and take a job, like that's a pretty massive decision versus, hey, you know what, I want to work on writing a book. Like you might still be able to write a book even if your whole family doesn't believe that you can do it or support you. You could still decide to do it. I don't know that I would advise someone like, hey, if you want to go take a job across the country, but your spouse or your children, if it's going to have a detrimental effect on your core unit, then I would probably say, that might just be a timing issue. Maybe it's just a not right now issue, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's something that we have to consider for the future. But really being really open and honest about what you would like and what you hope to have happen. I think that's another piece is like my husband and I had a lot of conversations about what does this mean for us? Like how do you feel about it? How do I feel about it? We had ongoing conversations about where we were at in the process, which
Mm-hmm.
made it a lot easier than one of us being surprised by the other person's perspective on something. So I think that would probably be my biggest advice is like open and honest communication about the steps, the goals, and maybe the why behind it. Like, why is this so important to you? Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the people that love us, they just see what we want to do and they don't really understand why. So maybe if you can bring in, this is why this is so important to me, and it would really mean a lot if you could support me in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Boy, I think about lots of things with my husband. Where I'm the adventurer for
Yeah.
sure. And I remember one time that was very telling. And again, this speaks to what you're saying about open communication. When we were trying to find somewhere else to live than where we are. And I remember we went to San Diego and we looked at about 25 properties. And on the flight home, he said, I don't want to limit our prosperity, but I also need you to understand that I have lived in San Francisco my entire life, and this is the only thing I've known. And I know that you would pick up and live anywhere at any time, but I need you to understand that I want to do something. I want to be open to change, but it's really hard for me. And that gave me so much compassion for him, because there's another part of my brain, that's going, just, buck up. Like, why don't you want to go somewhere and experience something new?
Yeah.
But it's again, that's part of relationships and navigating those.
And we're all wired differently. So, same thing. It's always been easier for me to think about moving or changing, where we might be living, and it's been harder for my husband. Although this time it was kind of flip-flopped at first, because he was the first one to say, let's move. And I was like, I don't know. But yeah, it's I think the communication and the why and understanding each other is so important in any of these kinds of decisions, whether it's career or business or family or life. It's all interconnected.
Right.
For sure.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. I wanted to acknowledge what Ren is saying, that the comfort is safe, and what if we don't? You like that, Ren? I love it. And then is it Lupus here, home team? My elderly parents keep me close, even though I'm not a favorite. I'm not exactly sure what that last part means, but the part about elderly parents keeping us close. Again, we all have these priorities that we need to take care of, and then figure out, okay, how can we stay content and happy, and also honor what we like while still honoring the commitments around us, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Esther, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to share, or any words of wisdom you'd like to give to us?
I'm trying to think if there's anything else just in regards to this. I think that I'm learning more and more to step out and try different things, even if I don't know the outcome. That's the big thing for me, is not knowing the outcome. Because I like to know the end result, but trying to look for the positives in the changes, because some of my change has been really, really difficult. And so one of the best pieces of advice somebody gave me was to look for the positive and look for the gifts in the journey. And, going and taking bold moves, there's going to be hard parts of it and there's going to be scary parts of it. But in that, look for the positives, look for the things that you're learning, look for the gifts that you're being given along the way. And I know that will make a big difference in how you approach it and how you're able to enjoy the process.
Oh, that's so great, because it's such a good reminder to be positive, and that our mindset is everything. I mean, what we think, we end up believing and walking into, and that's how we show up. So that's a really great one.
Yeah.
Well, anything else?
I just invite anybody who wants to connect to feel free to connect with me on Instagram, follow me there, and I have a couple podcasts, and the group that you're a part of, Karen, is something I love doing.
Tell us about where we can find you. Tell us anything you're promoting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can find all of my stuff on estherlittlefield.com. And you can find, like I said, the podcast there, the Christian Woman Leadership Podcast, Christian Woman Business Podcast. And then my favorite thing to do is my UpLIFT Mentormind, which Karen is a part of. And that is my mastermind for Christian women building an online business. And we have, coaching and masterminding and cheering each other on and supporting each other through challenges, all part of that program. So I would invite anybody who wants to know more to just reach out and DM me, and I'd be happy to chat.
Awesome. Well, I have to say too, I plugged you a little bit at the beginning, but to really wrap up with that your program UpLIFT has been so great for me, and the community of women that you have curated is absolutely incredible. It is so fun, and it's something I look forward to. And I was so sad to miss the call today, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things that I really look forward to doing every week, and just knowing that your expertise, but also your heart is there for us, and you lead us so beautifully. So thank you again.
Thank you, Karen.
For that. And thanks for coming tonight.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
It's great to be here.
enjoy your new home.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.